Hello, everybody, and welcome to Euphoria, the AP studio that is dedicated to uplifting the diversity of talent across the European TTRPG scene. My name is Michelle, my pronouns are she, her, and I am a mixed race woman with brown skin and long, straight black hair, wearing a lovely statement necklace that looks like leaves for our nature themed game today. Today, we have a very special stream, part one of two of a sponsored actual play sponsored by our friends at Three Sales Studios. We are going to be playing their game Mappa Mundi. And when I say we, I am referring to the beautiful cast you see before you. Let's all introduce ourselves with names, pronouns, and a quick visual description. I'm just going to go around my screen. So we're starting with Luyou.
Hi, my name is Luyou. My pronouns are she, her. I am an Asian American chubby woman with short black hair and a velvet top.
Let's go to Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily. My pronouns are she, her. I don't know why I stumbled over that. I should know that very well. My pronouns are she, her. And I am a British Iraqi woman who has a short curly bob and thick black rimmed glasses.
Angel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angel Amore. My pronouns are any, all, and I'm a brown indigenous person of nondescript gender. Although, if you hear me talk, it's usually giving the vibe dude, and that's all cool with me. With long, wavy hair and heart shaped glasses with
And
glitter
they
etched
are
into
super
them.
cute heart-shaped glasses.
Thank you.
And Ruben.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruben, pronouns also any and all, and I am a mixed race, light skinned person who is currently hyper illuminated by the daylight, so I appear almost angelic in appearance. I've got a coif, that's all you need to know. Thank you. Oh, wait, and I'm wearing a black shirt.
That's what we need to know. The hyperillumination will, of course, be fixed by the magic of our visual editor, Ida. And any hyper illumination of our voices will be fixed by our wonderful editor, Darcy. They are off screen making magic happen as we record this show for you today. Now, this particular adventure that we are going to be playing through today is a very exciting, very special one. We have been given a sneak peek of an adventure which is still under development for Mappa Mundi, being written by Kat the Law Mistress. Now, if you're not familiar with Kat, firstly, why not? How is that possible? She's incredible. But secondly, she is an incredible writer and stalwart of the UK TTRPG scene and the master of folk horror. So, with that in mind, we are going to be playing a game which is inspired by some horror and folklore elements from European folklore. I want to mention a few content warnings for you all at home so you can stay safe. Our lovely adventurers today will find themselves lost and not able to leave of their own volition the place where they are. They will experience elements of unreality, such as potential hallucinations or dreamlike visions, and they will struggle to tell what is real and what is not. We have detailed content warnings in the chat that will be popping up now and then throughout the stream. If you're watching this on catch up, I sounded like such a boomer then, on catch up, on the iPlayer. If you're watching this on the VOD, that's what the kids say. On YouTube, then you will find those content warnings in the video description. We hope that you stay with us for this adventure and have a lovely time. But if anything is not your cup of tea, we have lots of other programming you can enjoy instead.
Sceptered bow and stately gate, led through the dark we swim and fall. When we hear the siren song, mud cannot dim the tide of fate. Cloven hoof and crown of thorns, tithes for a king atop his throne. Nixie court and silent town, when our paths diverge the Koenig mourns. To pay tribute to the forest is foolish superstition. An axe looms o'er the head of this fearful apparition.
With all of that out of the way, let's begin our adventure. Now, the world of Ecumen was once a very, very connected world. a world where every single place was charted and mapped, and every single flora and fauna had been extensively studied and understood, and all of the peoples knew all of the world. But some time ago, something very strange happened. The world changed in some fundamental way. People were separated from each other, different nations were not able to communicate, and thus they were not able to share stories of what was changing. And what was changing was just about everything. Weather patterns, topography, and that flora and fauna that people once knew so well was changing too. Strange new plants were growing, and strange new creatures were emerging. Some seemed friendly and harmless, some seemed more like dangerous monsters, and people weren't quite sure how best to approach the strangeness of this new world. And that is where the Mappa Mundi Institute came in. As the peoples of the world began to reconnect after this strange cataclysmic event, people who were experts in exploration, cartography, communing with nature, came together from all of the different nations of the world to form the Mappa Mundi Institute, who would explore the changes in this world, help people to adjust to the changes in this world, and who would map out the new lands and the new creatures they discovered. This is who our 4 players are in this adventure. 4 members of the Mappa Mundi Institute who have just finished, about 3 weeks ago, an assignment. It all went very well, and I'm sure you're all feeling very pleased with yourselves, doing excellent chronicling. But in the 3 weeks since, you have been hiking through the Koenigswald, a huge, dark, and not very well documented forest in the continent of Domolov. You all have been hiking from one end of the forest to the other, where your next assignment is. You have been going for 3 weeks, and I imagine you're pretty tired, and I imagine you're pretty hungry, but I don't need to imagine because you're all going to tell me how you're feeling. So my first question is, who is leading the pack today? Who's at the front of the group?
I think Mulch is.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Mulch.
Mulch is a lumbering, very tall, almost impossibly so. Let's see what I wrote out down here. Huge guy. Essentially, just like we're dealing with a huge guy. Seems kind of agitated, rushed even, and seems to be muttering tree facts under his breath the entire time, as if to remind himself of something, or to just like entertain himself in his rushed state. And he's kind of like casting a long shadow over the rest of the party.
As he marches ahead. Who is bringing up the rear? Who is the least? Oh, we've already got it. Luyou, in you come. Please tell me about
I think that's gotta be Yevla. So Yevla is you see a tan-skinned, long-haired trans woman. She has on a fur coat and bright green, like a bluish green pantaloons, and she's actually in the back of the pack because she is listening for her friend and companion who is walking directly in front of her. The footsteps of that companion and the dog that they have, she's listening for the sound of their footfalls as she travels behind them.
Okay, and Angel, would you be so kind as to introduce that companion?
Yes. So that companion would be a Celestine, who is slightly above average height, which is the best part about TTRPGs and wishful thinking. Androgynous to femme-leaning presenting person with open currently, because they're not on a mission, open long hair and a couple of slightly wilted, obviously picked up from the ground already, dying flowers in their hair, and right beside, slightly behind them, with a big old head just swerving around to every little sound, is Benuri, the Pegabull, aka the pit bull with Pegasus wings. Currently, they're almost vestigial types of wings. They're very small at the shoulder blades. They're completely non-functional, but they flutter when the tail wags, etc. All white pit bull, who is quite young still. When Benuri is older, she'll be about the size of a horse, and those wings will be functional. But until then, for many, many years, she is just a faithful companion, constantly trotting at the side. And both Celestine and Benuri have identical expressions of pleasant exploration and curiosity on their faces. They're completely identical expressions.
That's lovely. Which means right in the middle of the pack, we have one last character, Emily.
So in the middle is little tawny Thistlebridge. She is an who knows how old woman who is about 5 nothing now, with a backpack as big as she is, sort of huffing and puffing. Slow down! Just trying to kind of keep up with with Mulch, who is striding ahead. When she has got a breath, or when she has caught a moment, she's often humming. She's kind of looking at things around her. She's just taking everything in. She seems maybe a bit scatterbrained, but she's secretly just cataloging everything she sees.
Mulch, what do you say when Tawny yells at you to slow down?
You have to do better catching up.
I'm half your size! Look at my legs! They're about 2 foot nothing! Oh, 1 second. Okay, I'm here.
As Tawny struggles with her backpack, the sound of the like asymmetrical stuff that's like latched onto one side or another, or a small pot jangling, is very useful. That and the whistling, I'm like, okay, I see that there's a bump coming up ahead. So in the background, you just see Yvla nodding to herself as she continues walking along.
Good job catching up. I will give you a tree fact for you to think about going forward as we go home, and I can go back to my tree.
Oh, wonderful! I love a tree fact. I'm
Did
listening.
you know that most, if not all, trees have a height? That's true.
Yes, I suppose that is. Well, thank you very much. You see, I note it down.
What is the height of the trees around us?
Ooh, can I use a skill?
Yeah, you can. What skill would you like to use?
I have awareness. So despite my bizarre fact saying I can probably give you an exact sort of like measurement.
I love that. Can you read us what the awareness skill says?
Keeping one's wits about them is vital for survival. Whether one is in a city, a village, or deep in the mountains, your mentor taught you that awareness, the honing of one's attention until it is as sharp as any blade, is a guardian's very best protection.
Fantastic. What ability do you roll for awareness? It should be one of your 4 core abilities.
Yeah, it is going to be observation.
Lovely. Roll me an observation then.
I'm going to roll it in this dice tray.
A lovely dice tray.
Which, let's see, I have a number in my observation. It's going to be a d6.
Okay.
I'm going to be rolling in my dice tray. No. That's a 1.
That was amazing. And you knew it was a 1 because it didn't roll off the table at all. Fantastic.
I could see immediately, within seconds, that I failed.
Then I think that perhaps you look around, and the trees here, they're so close together, so thick, that all of the branches and trunks almost seem to twist around themselves in such a way that you couldn't possibly tell the height of any of them, because you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You are surrounded and you are in darkness, which makes it very hard indeed to tell.
Yevla, I will tell you this. These trees, also the trees that have a height. Huh? Now, keep up with the facts, keep up with the pace. We have to get home.
Okay.
That sounds great. Where are we going?
I think as you ask that question, you are hustling forward and saying, so where are we going? You find that finally, after seemingly endless trekking through these thick trees, they start to open out a little bit. And in front of you is a town. Now, this is very strange because there is no mention of a town on any of the maps that you have or that you have studied. By all accounts, there should not be a town here, yet here it stands. It reveals itself slowly in the half light of all the trees overhead. Narrow streets with quiet, crooked houses, roofs sagging like tired shoulders, and every house seems quiet and closed up and all but abandoned. There is one building teeming with life. At the end of the street, the main street you see in front of you, is an inn. It has a sign blowing in the slight breeze above the door that says, "The Caged Bird." You can see the windows are bright. You can hear the hum of music spilling out into the quietness of the street. And it seems almost like an invitation to you. Come on in.
Perfect timing. Benori's paws were getting very tired.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that there is a back door to this inn through which we can simply walk through and continue our journey so we can get home.
No, listen. The dog's not the only one who's got their dogs barking, if that makes sense. Now, come on, we need to all have a rest. We've been walking for, God, how many days? I've lost count. But anyway, I need some whiskey for my
21.
bunions.
Okay. We can have a rest. I think it's good. We all vote. I don't vote because I would vote no, but you all vote for rest.
Mm-hmm.
Raise my hand.
I raise Benori's paw with my free hand.
Dogs can vote. I like this.
Yes.
Celestine.
So with Benori casting the winning vote, you'll all head into the Caged Bird.
Before we head in, can I just try to perceive by feeling along some of the more abandoned houses on the way to the inn, does the materials of the houses here, does it look like it's made of local material, like material from the woods nearby, or is it something else like stone?
Oh, that's a great question. Can you roll me an observation?
Sure, my observation is a d6, so it's a 5.
Okay, then yes, you're kind of feeling along these buildings, and they do seem to be made out of local materials. There's nothing about the materials of the buildings which strikes you as odd, but they do seem very, very old. Almost as though they should be falling apart, but they're not. They're tired looking, but they're intact. Yet, as you run your fingers, you almost feel as though you can feel cracks and crumbling under your fingers, which aren't quite there when you look closer. So there is something a little odd about these materials, but it isn't where they're sourced from.
I see.
So, do you head inside?
Yep.
All right. The inside of the building, it is vibrant and loud. It's frenetic with activity. You can smell delicious food, so much more delicious than the terrible dry rations you've been living on. It all seems so wonderful. And for a moment, every person in this inn turns and stares at you. And then their faces break out into smiles and they say, "Oh, travelers, welcome in. Come on in. You must be tired. Have food, have rest. You're so welcome." And the music strikes up again. Go on, Ruben.
Is any of this free? Just to anyone in the bar. I think Mulch actually just goes up to a patron, not really knowing how an inn works, and goes like, "Do I pay? Is this free? Can I take this?"
So the person at the bar kind of smiles at you placidly and is like, "Well, you're a traveler. Oh, of course. It wouldn't be hospitable for us to make you pay for food and rest when you've just arrived here at Koppelberg. Of course it's free. It's free. Have some food."
Mulch is going to just like wander off, like food vacuuming through the inn.
Okay, amazing. Tell me what the most enticing food is that Mulch goes for.
Ooh, I think it's got to be like a steaming risotto with like
Ooh.
a good amount of fish and just like a good like appetite whetting creaminess. Not too much of it, but just like, yeah, this is like you just made it in Monster Hunter Wilds, you know?
Yeah.
Amazing. Could you roll me an observation check, please, Mulch?
I'd love to. That's one of my better skills that I love rolling in. That's a 5.
A 5. So you eat this delicious fish risotto, and the tanginess of the seafood on your tongue is so welcome, and the warmth of that rice is so comforting for a moment. And as you're wondering to yourself, how on earth I got this delicious fresh fish in the middle of a deep wood, you realize that no matter how much you eat, you still feel hungry. So you'll just have to keep eating, I guess.
And I will.
Mulch has a moment where he's like, anyways.
Something's up, but I'm down.
I think Benori is hoovering behind you, so anything that is like in the frantic shoving in faceness of food, any splashes along the way, any half-empty plates that you switch for a new one, I think Benori is glued behind you, just hoovering whatever you don't eat, because she's not a real dog. She's a Pegable, so she can eat anything safely, including whatever you're eating.
I'm just like handing plates and just like putting it on smaller portions on dishes. Like, here you go.
Aw. Celestine, what are you doing as Benuri enjoys the food?
I think Celestine is more of a meat eater, obligate carnivore type of person. And so I think she has located, I don't think it was her plate. I think it was a plate that somebody put or left. Foraging. It's like foraging. And it had just a big, like a mutton, the things that entice you to go to the medieval, like Ren fairs. Fake mutton chop that's like just a really big drumstick. And she has one in each hand. And is very happy, but also making sure to always be kind of hovering near Yevla at all times, especially because Benori is occupied.
So as Celestine is dual wielding drumsticks, what about you, Tawny or Yevla? Are you also chowing down, or are you up to something else?
I think the wisdom of Tawny is like, nothing is free. You know what I mean? It's like why is, I've never been anywhere that they just, especially travelers, usually they charge more because they're stupid tourists. So I would love to do some kind of read on the situation. Could I do an observation as well?
Yeah, sure. Are you just sort of looking around and sort of taking things in, just trying to get a sense of...
Yeah, I think so.
That sounds good. Roll me an observation.
Well, I got a 1, so I don't think she's...
Checks out!
I think
yeah, seems fine.
I think that for as much as you find this all a bit odd, everyone you look at is just smiling. They just say, we don't get travelers very often. It's so nice to have travelers. We're such a small community. We just want to be hospitable. And nothing is obvious to you that seems to explain why they're being so hospitable, except that they're nice. What nice people they are.
Oh, well, in that case, if it's free, I'll take some of your finest whiskey maybe just pour it in a bowl there, and then she's just gonna take her shoes and socks off and just kind of put her feet in the bowl of whiskey to soothe her bunions.
If anyone finds this upsetting, they're far too polite to make that clear. And I think a round-faced, smiling woman behind the bar says, "Oh, your feet must be so tired. We have lovely, comfortable beds in our rooms upstairs. You'd be so welcome to stay the night."
Oh, you're an angel. That sounds delightful. Now, if I can encourage Mulch to sleep a little bit, that would be good for everyone, I think. So, but he seems to be happy. I'll just...
Out.
Oh boy.
But still in the bowl.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, so Tawny's absorbing alcohol through the feet, as is
Yeah.
tradition.
As she is wont to do, yes.
And Yevla, do you get up to anything to rest or recuperate here in the inn?
So Yevla is not as worldly as Tawny, nor is she as kind of like trope savvy as some of the other people in the group, but I think she is the sort of person to observe first and kind of like if the food is free and we're resting for the night, she's not going to hurry to eat. I think what she would want to do, obviously the food is not paid monetarily, but we're people who come from really far away. I would like to see about engaging one of the people in the tavern in conversation and pay with stories.
That's lovely. What do you say? What do you say? Describe to me a person in the tavern who takes your interest.
Sure. So you said there was music here. In the a bit of time between songs, while the performers are like getting water and refilling and refueling, I think she would find a seat near one of the people who are watching the band play. Maybe a portly woman who is just kind of looks like she's enjoying her evening, little apron and blouse. They said that they don't get travelers very often. I imagine that they don't hear a lot outside of this country. I think maybe it'd be interesting to have a chat.
Lovely. What story do you tell?
Well, not to put you on the spot, but what was the job that we have come back from doing?
That's a great question.
I want to say like tree adjacent for like Mulch to be really interested in it in the first place. So I feel like maybe like a very large, ancient, maybe slightly sentient kind of tree deity thing could be pretty cool.
Oh, a sentient tree. A Celestine. How did you interact with that sentient tree?
Very, very politely. But yes, a Celestine would have probably spent, which I think might have drove, it was like, a Celestine has an approach that might drive Mulch a little crazy, because a Celestine is you can't rush things. The tree will talk to me when the tree is ready. And the tree can wait a long time. And also the tree is very old. I have a lot of respect for the tree. So it's kind of like when you have to approach a slightly more anxious than baseline horse. And so you just kind of stand nearby for a little bit, and then you just a little closer, and then you stop. And a little closer, and then you stop. And eventually, after about 3 hours, the Celestine was sitting with the tree, hand on the tree, gabbing, yapping like old friends. Thank God. Because the alternative is that the tree eats the Celestine, which the Celestine is very aware of. I would have been okay with, because c'est la vie. If that's how that goes, that's how that goes. The Celestine needs to learn how to care a little bit more about the outcomes of things and not just be like, whatever nature wants. But yeah, so that was it might have been a bit of a longer situation. But I think that there was definitely a lot of tree yapping involved
Tree, yeah.
after a while.
Mulch, maybe this tree wasn't going to eat anyone, but what was the potential danger that this tree posed if you all hadn't been there to mediate the situation?
Ooh, I think there was something wrong with its fruit, and that was like affecting maybe a local, not a human, maybe more like a food chain for like local, local birds or insects maybe. So we just like had to cure the tree by soothing it and talking to it.
And Yevla, as you're recounting this story of this sentient tree with something wrong with its fruit that you had a good old chat with, to this musician, how do you end the story? How do you either portray yourself as the hero or your group as the hero, or how do you conclude the tale?
I don't think Yevla does either. I think what she would be focused on in this conversation the most is the fact that the mangrove tree that Mulch tends for and cares for in some ways is so different to this tree, and yet has many of the same needs. And I think she would be kind of using it as like not an analogy, but just to say like, you know, Mappa Mundi goes around solving problems, and this sort of thing comes up in every area and society. And so these are two things that we did recently and that we care about.
Oh, and I think this musician is, they're just smiling, and they seem so charmed, and they say, oh, you're not just travelers, you're helpers. You help people, and you pay tribute to nature. You pay tribute to trees. That's so important.
I do, and you are paying tribute to stories and music, which is equally as important.
Oh, that's so kind. I play my music as a tribute to the forest. It's important to pay tribute to our home. And I think that as you all enjoy your food and your music and your chats, the evening wears on until, like Tawny, you're all getting a little bit tired.
Carry her.
And you settle down for a nice, comfortable sleep.
There's no bed in Mulch's size. It's just like not feet are sticking out, like knees are sticking out.
Oh, poor Mulch, poor Mulch. Despite the lack of an appropriately sized bed for the heft of Mulch, you still manage to find yourself comfortable eventually and drift off. And at this point, usually friends and audience members, in a game of Mappa Mundi, we would enter a research phase when our chroniclers would begin to learn more about what's happening. But instead, the journey begins as you awaken and find yourselves not in the caged bird. Instead of the comfortable sheets and mattresses underneath you, there is a bed of moss. Instead of the warmth of a fire, the morning air is sharp and cold against your skin. Instead of the chatter of the other patrons of the inn, you hear leaves rustling, and the beams of the ceiling are gone, replaced by the gnarled canopy of the ancient trees of this forest. You've woken up, back outside, no sign of this town anywhere around you, and you're not alone. We draw the first card from the deck. It is an opportunity card. I'm afraid this opportunity card leads you to being out here alone and being watched as you awaken by a tall, lean man with a tumble of thick, dark hair, intensely green eyes, and the brown skin of somebody who spends a long time outside. And he's just kind of leaning against one of the trees, watching you. And he says, you're awake.
I sit up straight and go, woke up in moss again. Wow.
Who are you? What's it? Oh, not again. I'll look around.
I ignore this guy and try to like help everyone up. I just like clear the moss away.
Benuri is putting herself strategically between the closest member of the party to this person, whoever they are, and is just attached between and just kind of muscular little. You know when pit bulls have this stance where it looks like they're like a bodybuilder?
Yeah.
But it's only the front half of the body that does that because the back can't do that. But that's the vibe that she has, and the wings, they're not up, but they're a little bit like stiffer, and her head is like, unfortunately, it's very clear that she does think that the chance is higher that this is a new friend. And there's a level of excitement in her face. But there's also a long, hard work drilled in, trained instinct to be like, wait, maybe not a new friend. Probably a new friend, but maybe.
The man is also looking at Benuri with that slightly calculating look that Benuri is looking at him with, as though to think, maybe friend, maybe not friend. He's also kind of keeping his distance and weighing up what to do as you all wake up.
I have a question of not to use the term observation, but the people who ate food last night, is the food, like the feeling of being full, still present, or has that disappeared?
No, it feels as though you didn't have any of that lovely food at all.
Okay.
Yeah, there never was a feeling of being full, right?
No, you never. No matter how much you ate, you just weren't satiated.
I just thought I was hungry.
Tucked
That's
away
just a
3
Tuesday night.
risottos, 2 turkey legs, just typical day.
That was just the
Tuesday.
first course. It was at least 8 turkey legs.
Oh, good.
Not a single inkling that something would be wrong. And in that vein, a Celestine is not the person that drilled into Benuri's mind that somebody might not be a friend. And unfortunately, nobody has really successfully drilled that into a Celestine's mind either. So a Celestine is just smiling at the newcomer and is like, hello.
He smiles back, charmed by your lovely expression, and he says, hello. Are you all alright? Are you hurt?
No, don't think so. Are you guys okay?
I think so. My feet are still sore, which is annoying. Other than that, I seem just gonna stretch and like every bone kind of cracks a little bit. She's like, yeah, I'm alright.
I think with the cracking bones of Tawny trying to stumble up to her feet, he won't touch you without permission, but he'll hold out a hand as though to give you the option to sort of lean on to stand up.
Oh, thank you, young man. When I take his hand, can I use the read interaction?
Ooh,
Nice.
why not?
So this is a deduction skill. Do you want me to read what it does for the viewers or listeners?
Why not? Yeah.
So, those exposed to monsters and creatures for long periods of time begin to learn how to interpret their non-verbal forms of communication. Using read, a chronicler can determine a target's state of mind, its levels of comfort or fear, whether it's confident, shy, inquisitive, interested, or whether it poses a threat or is safe to approach. This interaction will often reveal behaviors related to general feelings, attitudes, and basic levels of safety.
So usually interactions are used during encounters with creatures, which is why that description is talking about sort of behaviors of creatures. However, I think it makes sense to use it here, so definitely.
Oh, thank you. Do tell me if I'm fudging the system at any point. I will retcon anything.
I'm sure the lovely people at 3 Sail Studio will tell me the same thing if I'm fudging it, but it makes sense to me.
I got a 6 though.
Amazing. All right. So how is it that you read this person, Tawny?
I think with a mixture of how he's holding her hand, how his stance is, and the way he's looking at her, just sort of like, when you can see a smile, whether it reaches the eyes or not. I think it's just those subtle cues she's trying to read in their body language.
Yeah, I think that as you're reading this person, you get the sense that he is curious about all of you, kind of intrigued
interested. You're these people he doesn't know, and he's definitely sort of sizing you up a little bit, trying to figure you out. But you don't get any sense of either malice or warmth, just a sense of curiosity. As he helps you up, and he says, "My name is Pfeiffer. The people of Koppelberg, the village, told me that you'd gone missing during the night. Unfortunately, you're not the first people to go missing from that village. They don't like to talk about it, but they asked me to try and track you down."
I think Tawny frowns at that, in confusion, and she, how far away are we? Did we sleepwalk or something?
It's not too clear to me how you ended up here. We're not far back. I don't live in Koppelberg myself. The forest is my home. I know it well, and I'd be very happy to escort you back to the village if that's where you wish to go.
Well, I don't think we need to go back. We did sleep, and we have rations. We don't need to go backwards. We're headed out to bases and homes and such for a bit of a break between missions. So maybe out of the forest is, I think, where we want to go.
That's a cosign?
He looks actually very slightly a little kind of disappointed when you say that, and he says, "Oh, they mentioned to me, the villagers, that you were people who help, that you explore problems and strange creatures, and you know lots about trees, and well, I had rather hoped that you could help me while you're here."
I think we can certainly help you. This is gonna sound a little odd, but this person, Pfeiffer, had just helped Tawny stand up, right? Yeah. So he's like adjacent to us. He's near us. As I speak with him, can you tell me what he smells like? Does he smell of the forest? Like, is his kind of like so I can't see him very clearly, but like all of my other senses, like what do I perceive of him? I would like to try to use my intentions to just see. Obviously, we already know he's curious and somewhat interested, but he sounds like he has a problem. How invested is he in this problem? I'd like to know.
Okay, it sounds like you're doing deduction here.
Okay.
Trying to figure this person out, so why don't you give me a roll?
Sure. So if I don't connect it to my intentions, my deduction is a D4.
Is intentions a skill of yours?
It is. Would you like me to read it and see if this applies?
Please do, yeah.
How does free will exist in a world governed by fate? Scholars and philosophers have driven themselves mad pondering the question. For you, the answer is simpler. Intention is the tool by which fate is shaped, and you possess great skill at seeing the intentions around you. So obviously we know he's curious, but we now have more information about, what goals he has and who he professes he is. So I was hoping to scope it out.
Yeah, fantastic. So when you use a skill, you roll the same deduction, but the target number that you're going for is lowered when you have a skill that's rolled.
That's probably good because my deduction is not good. So let's see.
You're rolling a D4.
It's a 4. It's a 4. Oh,
there you go. All right, fantastic. Well, that'll do it. So the intentions of Pfeiffer as he asks this question, will you help? He smells of the forest. When you woke up, you smelled that moss and the earth beneath you. You smelled that petrichor smell of June grass. You smelled the ancient wood around you. And he smells of all of those things.
Yes. Something that I want to note. He says he doesn't live in Koppelberg. He lives in his own residence. Does he smell like campfire? Does he smell like he lives in a home that generates wood heat?
He doesn't smell of fire. He doesn't smell of smoke. He smells of the forest. He said the forest is his home, and he smells of the forest that he says is his home.
Mhm.
And you get the intentions, the sense from him, that he really does want you to stay.
Sure.
And he says something strange is happening in the Koenigswald. As I said, you're not the first people to disappear. I'm glad that I found you. If you want me to just help you leave the forest as quickly as possible, I will of course help you do that. But if you'd be willing to help me explore a little and try to find out what's happening, I would appreciate it.
I think we always have time for that. And
Mhm.
I think it's the designs of the loom of fate that we have found each other. So gotta tug on that string, as it were.
I would like to use my sixth sense, seeing sort of like Yevla, like pick up on like the sensory experience. I would like to use my sixth sense to go beyond just the immediately sensory. And I think the way that Mulch does that is by walking straight up to Pfeiffer, putting a hand over their head and just kind of like lift them up a little.
All right. So sixth sense. Is that a skill of yours? Can you tell me about that?
Yes. I'm going to read it out. When you were young, the wilds called to you. Your sight, smell, hearing, touch, and even your taste registered this yearning. Now your exposure to the wilds has given you a sixth sense, allowing you to feel that which the wilds feel.
Right.
And,
which ability is that linked to?
That is linked to exploration.
All right.
And,
Roll me an
I lift them-
exploration.
Gotcha. That's D6. I lift them up and go like, so sorry, this will take a second.
No! The dice tray!
Still rolled off the table.
Dice tray! How could you forsake him,
But I rolled 6 though.
Okay.
Because of the devastating nature of the dice tray betraying you, I will let that 6 from the 4 stand. So tell me again what you were hoping to discern through your sixth sense.
I'm hoping to get my sense of dignity back. No, I trying to discern sort of like Pfeiffer's affinity with the wilds, because a lack of fire, like a lack of smoky smell means they're not warming themselves. Which would be necessary at certain points. And at home in the woods when there's a settlement nearby, I'm suspicious.
I think that as Pfeiffer kind of very passively allows you to pick him up like this, but does look again very, very curious and intrigued by this behavior. You kind of try to sense what you can about this man. He told you that the woods was his home, the forest of the Koenigswald was his home, and you sense that this is very, very true. He has the friendship of the forest. He knows this forest. You sense that he, like you, has an affinity for certain trees, and these are the trees that he has an affinity for. This is his home in a very genuine way. And I think that he can tell that you all are a little bit suspicious of him. And he kind of says, as you place him down, I know it's unusual that there's a settlement here in the woods and I don't live as part of it, but I've always felt that it wasn't quite respectful, it wasn't quite right for them to build buildings in a place that is not theirs. I choose to live with the forest.
Now, here's a tree fact. I
boy.
live in a tree. So that is actually a thing we share, and I put him back down.
So a tree fact and a you fact, my friend.
Oh, no, don't worry about that. It is a tree fact that is important.
The fact that this woodsman hardly sees any people, runs into people, and it's the 4 weirdest people he's ever met in his life.
Yep.
We are getting an awful representation of normal people.
Celestine is actually quite confused because living in the forest like this is very normal for her. If she had noticed that there was no campfire smell, she wouldn't have clocked it because she also didn't have that when you first met her because she's Karo and they live completely with the materials of the forest, and the nearby other cultures are not entirely human. So she just thinks this is like cousin. And that's the energy she has towards him.
Love that. So you follow Pfeiffer as he begins to lead you through this forest, and we will find out what you discover after a quick break. So thank you everyone for watching along so far. Let's have a little drink of water and a stretch, and we'll see you very shortly. Hello again, friends. Our chroniclers have found themselves in a very strange part of the Koenigswald. They discovered a town which was not on any of their maps, where everybody was very friendly, welcomed them into the Caged Bird Inn for the night, yet they woke up once again in the middle of the forest and met with a woodsman named Pfeiffer, who seems very keen for them to stay and help figure out what's going on in this strange forest, which is leading to people disappearing in the way that the chroniclers did. They've just agreed to help Pfeiffer, so he has begun to lead them to continue to explore the forest that he calls home. And we are going to draw our next card. This card is the Clearing, and it is Rightwise, which means that you find yourself entering into a clearing in the forest absolutely full of brightly coloured birds. They almost resemble canaries, and you can see them perching around on branches, singing. As Pfeiffer walks ahead, he stretches his arms out as if to embrace, and several of the birds actually descend from the trees and land on him, and sort of tweet to him. Pfeiffer turns back to you and he says, the inn that you went to sleep in last night, the Caged Bird, is actually named for these. And he gestures up at the branches above you, and you see the birds' nests, which hang down from the branches and are woven with sticks in a way that almost resembles a cage. And he says, all of us make our own prisons, whether we know it or not. So let's do some shaping here. What else is interesting or notable about this clearing or the birds as you all enter this space?
Ooh, can there be a tree that has grown in the specific sort of like shape of like a birdhouse?
Oh.
So it's sort of like that is like a trunk that's like almost cubic, with like holes and different like pathways inside of the tree, like easy access to nectar ways and stuff.
Oh, lovely, yes.
I think that the the wind, which was for the rest of our time walking through these woods, has been whipping somewhat frenetically at times, and a little bit harsh. Here is pretty mild.
I like the idea of, in this clearing, we're so used to it being so dark in the canopy of the rest of the forest that it's almost like this just pillar of sunlight coming down, and as the birds fly through it, they kind of have this almost catch of metallic sort of like gold or silver or like pearlescent sort of flashes as they go through, like the motes of sunlight dancing around. So it's all this kind of little metallic flashes.
Can we get that again?
Woo.
Sorry, guys.
I think there's patches in the grass of the clearing that are so densely populated with flowers and the flower petals that you can barely see the grass they grow from. And they seem to crop up in just these organic, occasional clumps and shapes that have the slightly rough edges to them, almost as if they were particularly popped up to be grazed from, and that creates the shape of them. And then they just kind of seem to, it's like others are bigger, so they seem to just spread out again in the same shape.
And as you're making your way through these strange patches of flowers, more and more of these birds are descending from that birdhouse tree with the cage nest hanging off of it and darting through the sunlight. And you notice that the wind has died down here. The wind is quieter, but in its place is the sound of the bird song. And it is getting louder and louder as more and more of these birds are surrounding you. Too many, it seems, for a clearing of this size. And that bird song, it seems familiar in some way, but something about it is unsettling at the same time. And I'd invite anyone who wants to try and maybe figure out a bit more about these birds to try and make any moves they'd like to. Luyou, looks like you have an idea.
I would love. These birds are fairly small if they're like songbirds, so my ability to like perceive a single bird is not great visually. But what I would like to do is, you said they're moving around, and it's like a murmuration of birds. Essentially, Yvila would like to close her eyes, and allow the movement of the birds, like the sound of their wings and like the directions that they're moving as these groups or as like in this sort of pattern. I would like for her to try to divine the signs of the wild.
Ooh.
Lovely. Is that one of your skills, the signs of the wild?
It is. Would you like me to read it?
Please.
Diviners understand that fate works through everything. Nowhere is this connection more apparent than in the behaviors of creatures and monsters. By pinpointing these signs in the wild, you can sense features of Akime's organisms that most wouldn't be able to identify.
Oh, amazing. Which ability is that linked to?
Observation.
Beautiful. Well, please roll me an observation.
Okay. Can she hear the birds? 5.
Okay. We will resolve that in a moment. Just want to give anyone else a chance if anyone else wants to do anything to try and explore these birds.
I think I turn to Tawny and go, I've never seen a bird before.
But you
First
live
time.
in a tree!
No birds.
She's just absolutely flabbergasted by this information.
I say. It's quite nice. They're quite nice.
All the journeys we've been on as a group. No birds. This is the first bird.
Auspiciously absent of a bird. And now, many.
Okay.
Now that you mention it, there has been a bit of a lack of our feathered friends. Huh.
What I'm saying. I know nothing about the birds. Never encountered one. Never had to deal.
Well, when we get home, I will give you a lesson on birds, their sort of lifespans, the variety of birds, also their mating habits, so you can talk about that with you, and what they can be used for in food. I mean, you've had chicken before, haven't you?
That's bird?
Yeah, yes.
I thought it was strangely hairy fish.
Tawny's just trying to process. She's like, I guess.
Like I said, weirdest 4 people Pfeiffer has ever met.
We got like
The cosmic horror starting immediately.
Yes.
I'm the horror element.
It's time to bring the demons.
Get like a zoom in on the license. This person did pass, school.
Yvila is this is why I'm delaying the resolution of because we are trying to listen to the birds, but you're hearing this conversation, so it's just taken a while to
I don't know what
fix it.
birds are.
You're like,
Making these calculations.
It's like when someone tries to ask you how to define a word that you're not quite sure how to but don't know how else to explain that word just means that word. Like, I don't know. She's just having a time.
A Celestine on that bombshell that Mulch doesn't know what birds are you doing anything to investigate here?
Yes, I have the skill Keen-Eyed, which is a traversal roll, which for anyone keen to find out what it is, it's from the book. It says most people filter out the details of the world around them, moving through life hardly seeing anything, but you know that there is much to be found where you least expect it. Little flies past you, and details ranging from environmental hazards to potentially dangerous predators ring out in your brain regularly. So I wanted to have a Celestine try to catch a keen-eyed look at these birds.
Sounds perfect. Please roll.
All right. 5.
Okay, lovely. And Tawny, is there anything you want to do, or are you simply too blown away by the revelations of life?
I think Tawny, in an attempt to also teach as well, I think, is looking around to see if there are any feathers on the floor. And I'd like to use my skill Stolen Opportunities, if I can, for that.
Please tell me about that skill.
Treasure is synonymous with opportunity in your mind. You have a keen eye for treasures of all kinds and always know the right opportunity to pilfer something you will inevitably make use of later. So I feel like she's just, this could come in handy. So she's looking to see if there's any of the bird's feathers anywhere she could kind of collect.
Interesting. Is that an observation or
Oh, it
exploration?
is. Observation.
Observation.
A 4?
Okay, all right. So I'm going to sort of narrate what all of you discover together here.
Sure.
So, Yevla, you have your eyes closed and you're listening and listening to that bird song that is all around you, that strangely lulling, lilting song, and you are trying to pick out the sound of the bird's movements, of the flapping of the wings around you. And yet, as hard as you listen, you don't hear any wings flapping. You don't hear the sound of birds. Why can't you hear the sound of birds? And Tawny, you are looking around the forest floor for a feather to pick up and put in your pocket, but you can't find any feathers anywhere. There are no feathers on the ground here, despite how many birds there are. And Celestine, you are watching the darting movements of these yellow birds through the sunlight. And as your keen eye focuses in, you notice that something's not right here. This is a trick. This is an illusion. There's nothing darting around. There are no birds here. And all three of you realize together that Mulch still hasn't seen a bird. For this is an illusion, and instead you are surrounded by huge green tadpoles swimming through the air, and they are not singing. They are chatting to each other in their strange language, and they are laughing at you. The three of you who realize this, you can all take a fate point.
Ooh.
And I want to know that Mulch, as you are still just observing what looks to be birds, and Pfeiffer is still arms outstretched, feeding seeds to the ones landed on him. You have a moment here, the three of you. What do you want to do as you realize that you are surrounded by giant swimming tadpoles?
Now hold on. Now, Tony, what you just said is these are not birds.
Yes, I'm sorry to say, it seems like you will have to wait another day to see birds because, she's gonna kind of cling, hug a little bit closer to your leg, I'm assuming, because she probably only comes up so high on Mulch.
I will tell you this: you all rolled well. You all rolled 5s. I think that Tony, you can just explain something's not
Okay,
right
cool.
here. I think you can just tell Mulch this, and he'll be able to look to see what you tell him to see.
Mulch, I want you to clear your mind. don't think of birds. All those things I said to you, ignore it. Just don't think of those things. Think of instead large, swimming, floaty tadpoles that are cackling a little bit maniacally. Just about there. She's gonna point up at one as it's like floating past.
Learning about birds is very difficult. Oh boy.
I think as you say that, Mulch, Pfeiffer turns and sees you all kind of pointing out these birds and talking about how they don't look like birds. And he looks confused and concerned. And you blink and he is gone.
Oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
The
Now
birds
this
are
is-
gone. The trees are gone. The
Now-
clearing is gone. In fact, Mulch, before you say anything, Yevla and Celestine and Benuri are gone. It's just you and Tawny here.
You feel just like two enormous arms just kind of like go like down, and also almost like clinging to you, like, in scaredness. It's like, oh, so not just because of a bird-related mystery. It's because we just lost our guide, and I am not sure.
I think we've lost everyone. What happened? Can I see the tadpoles still, or are they just gone as well?
You look around you and you don't see the tadpoles. You don't see trees. What you see is a town square.
Oh,
A town square in a ruined town. Everything is dilapidated, overgrown with branches and roots and leaves. And in the center of the square, there is a statue, a large stone throne, next to which is a giant clock tower with a ticking clock. That is what you see.
What time is it?
Shape for me. What time does it show?
Ooh, kind of like something, a good amount of minutes to midnight, like
Nice.
10, 15.
It's getting close to midnight. Strange, wasn't it? Just sunny, and yet here we are. It's dark now in this town square.
Does it look like Copperberg, where we were before, or does it look completely different?
Ooh, good question. Can you roll me let's get a deduction if you're trying to sort of look around and figure out if it's the same place?
Oh yes, d6. 1. So I am a bit too concerned about everything.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You're just so taken aback that you're not able to kind of focus on any details which tell you clearly whether this is in fact the same town. It all looks so different. It's all dilapidated and broken down. It wasn't like the intact place you were before.
Well, I suppose we should try and see if the others got sent here too, somewhere.
I think let's try to ascend this clock tower and see what is around us.
Now that's
and
thinking. That's a good idea.
Sometimes I try.
As you two begin to move towards the clock tower, Yevla and Celestine, you two are somewhere that is not where you were. Yevla, I think your eyes were closed, weren't they?
They were.
So you hear the sudden silence as the birdsong stops, and instead you can hear a distant muttering of a voice. You can't quite hear what it's saying, but someone far off, or not too far off, is muttering something. And you can hear and sense that Celestine and Benuri, the dog, are with you. But I think if you open your eyes, you can see enough to see that that's all that's with you.
Okay. And we're still in a forest?
You are, as you explore around, inside of a building. It looks like it was once grand. It looks like there were mosaics and painted paving stones and pillars before nature reclaimed this place. Maybe some kind of town hall or some other important building. And you can see a sort of, what's the word, like a tarnished brass plaque over a door, which says mayoral office. And that door is ajar.
And the muttering is coming through the door?
Seems to be.
Okay. I look at you.
Where did everybody go?
I think the same place the risotto went. I think that the only way out is through. So I gesture vaguely toward the brown object in front of me.
Celestine would probably start by testing everything for how solid it feels. Like, is this actually a door? Because the other thing was just illusions and tadpoles. And if we're going to be grabbing doorknobs, she would like to know to expect doorknob feeling or if she's going to grab a tadpole.
Let's do exploration, Celestine, for this you're trying to find out. Or actually, it could be traversal as well, like you're trying to carefully move through the space. You can choose.
The D6 for me on exploration. 1.
Yeah.
It feels solid.
Oh boy.
It feels as solid as the moss underfoot in the forest felt.
Oh no.
Good.
Oh, I know my materials so good.
When you put your hand on the door, it pushes it slightly and it creaks more open, and that muttering gets a little clearer to indicate that it is indeed coming from behind this door.
I would signal to Benori to go to Yevla's side and like kind of bump into your side gently so that you know where she is and that you could, if you ever wanted to, you could grab onto her, you could put a hand on her head and that she will stay with you and keep pace with you until you like stop touching her, in which case she would move if she had to.
Sure. And the great part about having an all-white dog in what clearly not an all-white room is that she's very visible. So yeah, Yevla will proceed through the door and towards the sound of the invoice.
Same.
The office of the mayor is gloomy. There's a candle lit on the desk, almost burned down, and the wax is dripping onto piles of papers, which are strewn about chaotically as though somebody was searching for something important. But that's not the main focus of attention in this room. Instead, it's the figure who sits with their back to you, staring out of the window into the distance, muttering over and over again, "To pay tribute to the forest is foolish superstition. To pay tribute to the forest is foolish superstition."
Depends on the forest. As Celestine would kind of offer, stepping in and being like, just kind of a tentative injection into the conversation. Well, muttering.
"To pay tribute to the forest is a foolish superstition."
Oh boy. Oh no. Can you hear me?
"Pay tribute to the forest.
Okay.
It's foolish superstition."
All right.
So you said that this building is an old mayoral, like town hall office. It had mosaics. There's like a weathered sort of like plaque. This means that whether or not this plane is reality or unreality, I can learn something about this place through the past. I would like, if possible, to use memories. It's an exploration activity, and through it, I can sense memories about a place from long ago, and hopefully that gives me a little bit of guidance as to like what is happening here.
All right. Tell me what you are most interested in, the figure or the desk?
Neither.
Mm.
I think that places can hold a lot of feelings, and the more feelings that build up over time, the more apparent they are. I would like to put my hand on whatever looks like it was the most loved thing in here, the most like cared for, treasured thing in here. And I cast my bones as part of this. It's like my dice, bone dice, and I would like to try to sense the intention of what once was.
Okay. You tell me, shape for me, what is this thing that you find that's the most loved thing?
So, tell me if I'm wrong. This mayor sounds like he doesn't like love the forest. It sounds like there has been like a long conflict between the people who reside here and the wilderness. I think that something that would give them independence over the woods would be the most valuable thing. And I see above, mounted in a place of prominence, a placard, dull and worn, and the wood is warped, and on it there's two hooks, on which is hanging a massive aged axe that looks like it has hewn 1,000 trees. Yevla is going to reach her hands towards that and touch it and try to cast it, which is gonna feel super shitty if I get a 1.
Give me that roll. Let's see what
Oh,
you get.
I'm scared.
God damn it! It's a 1! Fuck!
It's a 1.
No!
It's a 1.
It's a 1. It's a 1.
It's not.
I
It's not.
did.
It's not that you can't sense the memories of this place.
Sure.
It's that when you reach out towards this axe, it catches the attention of that figure.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
He spins around. He
No,
looks
no.
directly at you.
Sorry.
Mulch and Tawny, let's go back over to you.
Cliffhangers.
So I'm sure that wherever Yevla and Alestisine are is going fine, huh?
Yeah!
Yes, they're very capable people. I'm sure they're absolutely fine wherever they are.
Going normal.
Just like we are doing fine. Can I use, like, as we are ascending this clock tower, can I use my soft steps ability? My activity? It's a traversal thing, and it reads, as you stalked cats, surprised dogs, and carefully inspected birds' nests. That's not true in Welch's case.
That's not what.
Still have never seen a bird. I'm keeping up the record. You became accustomed to treading softly, lest you reveal your presence to your target. Despite whatever armor you might be wearing, it's unusually easy for you to creep close without alerting others to your presence. And I would like to sort of argue that I'm trying to mask the both of us, maybe, to whatever's sort of like whatever presence is keeping us here or causing this effect.
Okay.
Could I kind of get a piggyback? Because I feel like there's a lot of stairs and my traversal is actually really bad and I like that as like an actual thing for her. So she's just like Yoda on your back. Just
With a
like,
huge backpack. With a humongous backpack.
Sticking out.
As you
can-
do like stride 4 steps at a time. Otherwise
You
I'd
can
be
even
down
like
the bottom.
sit on the shoulder and we just like
Yeah.
walk up.
Oh, this is much better.
How is
Take me about an
the
hour to get up.
how you say the bunions?
Oh well, you know, she goes to take off her shoe and then thinks
No, no,
about
no,
how
no, no,
close
no,
it is
no,
to
no,
your
no.
face, and
Oh boy.
they're fine. They're fine.
Can I roll to see if I fall down the stairs?
Give me a roll.
Oh god.
Yeah, I want
we're all gonna
low.
die.
That's a 2.
Definitely a stumble.
You do stumble. These stairs are not structurally sound. They are old and crumbling. You don't hurt yourself, but I think that you lose the opportunity to use this clock tower to your advantage. You realize you cannot get up. There's just no way to climb up here. So you'll have to find some other way of exploring this area. Look around some other avenue.
Does this
Let's-
clock tower have a bell?
Oh. You tell me.
Okay. I would love if we managed to get like maybe some of the way up, but obviously couldn't get any further for whatever reason. Like it was too decrepit. There was too much of a gap in the stairs, and I can see in the center of this like tower as we've been going around, there is a bit of an old rope, and when you look up, you can see there's like a really rusted like bell just sort of sitting in the middle. Mulch, do you think you could reach? If we can ring the bell, maybe they'll come to us.
Ah, now that I like as an idea. And can I do that?
Let's do it.
All right.
What are we gonna call this? Let's do a traversal to see if you can safely kind of activate this old bell in this dilapidated old tower. Whichever one of you wants to be the one to do it.
I'm rubbish at that.
I have a
If there's
D6.
any way I can like assist to like, I don't know if Mappa Mundi has any kind of like help action.
We could do it as a group roll, which means you both roll it, and as long as one of you succeeds, then it will
Okay.
succeed.
Maybe
since
if
you're both contributing.
Yeah, maybe
You're on
if
my
Mulch is
shoulders.
leaning
You're holding
over
me
to
out.
ring it. Yeah, you're just holding him out.
So you climb up on the shoulders and.
And just like help me pull. Just like 2 sets of arms to the ends.
Alright, let's both roll.
I rolled a 3.
I rolled a 1, so I
Oh,
didn't do that great.
Oh yeah.
boy.
We're killing it.
You pull on this old rope, and the bell does begin to ring. It rings and it rings, and although it's only one bell, you hear several notes, and you realize it's familiar. It's the sound those birds sang. And as you hear the song of those birds, you begin to feel lulled and hypnotized by it to the point you barely notice as the bell comes loose and crashes down towards you.
See.
Yevla and Acelist, the figure has locked you in its gaze, Yevla, as you reach towards his axe.
Sure.
And he reaches out and grasps you by the shoulders. And he says, "Do not trust the forest. He will trap you too."
What does he feel like? What kind of grip is it? Like, is it a solid, meaty hand? Is it tight with tension? Is it shaking with fear? Like, what's the...
He is, now that you can see him clearly,
Well,
gaunt, and he's right in front of you.
Mhm.
He is gaunt and sallow of skin and bony, as though he's been wasting away. And that is reflected in the feeling of those bony fingers digging hard into your skin with a grip that's so hard it is starting to shake with the intensity of it.
sure. In that case, Yevla is going to just slowly and intentionally withdraw her hand from the axe, but rather than returning her hand to her side, she is going to cup the man's face in her hand, and gently rub at it with her thumb as she says, "It looks as though you've had a lonely time. We hear your words of warning. Is there anything else that you could tell us that would be helpful or unburdening for you?"
I like this. Do you have a skill or interaction that you'd like to use here?
Does touch count? Traversal?
What does it say under touch? The
Um,
interactions.
Touch. Nothing compares to the thrill of close proximity. Touch allows chroniclers to verify with their hands the information gathered by their eyes. This interaction will often reveal behaviors linked to a target's physicality, but it is also linked to gaining trust or determining a target's safety or danger levels. I will say, I don't know if this is like our creature, so I'm not sure that this would be that helpful, but
We can use interactions on folks that aren't
Okay.
the main creature. We can use them outside the encounter phase when they fit, and I think this fits very well.
right, this
So-
this person is in the middle of like an anxiety episode. I think that, comfort and gentleness can't hurt.
So roll me. Did you say it was a traversal skill?
Traversal.
Okay, you can roll me traversal then, please.
It's a D4. It's a 3.
Okay, so because you used a skill, as I said, your target is lowered, so 3 is going to be sufficient.
Okay.
So you meet this fearful apparition with kindness and gentleness and a soothing touch. And that grip, that vice grip, loosens ever so slightly as the muscles relax. And it says to you, he says to you, they say to you, the more you spend time in proximity, the less it feels like a real person.
Sure, that's fine.
But they say the trees, they twisted, they moved beneath our feet. The animals behaved strangely, they howled in the night. The stranger warned us. The stranger warned us that we must pay tribute to the forest's king, or fall. We did not heed his warning. I said to him to pay tribute to the forest's foolish superstition. To pay tribute to the forest's foolish superstition. And once again, he lapses back in to that repetition. He drifts away from you to the window.
I have kind of an odd thing because this is potentially an object on this person's person.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a token of this individual that could be, with permission, taken? I think belated tribute is better than no tribute at all. Is there something I could take from them to give to whichever entity they're speaking about?
I like that. I think we've established there is a desk here that is strewn with all sorts of papers and things. So if you want to search there, I will allow you to shape and decide what object you find as a tribute.
Angel, would you like to help me shape what's on this desk?
Sure. I think it has many, 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 many drawers. Some of which maybe half opened, as maybe when things went bad, things were kind of flung around. And I think at the bottom there is a drawer that was hidden and has been revealed through the removal of the above drawer that is undisturbed. What's in there?
I think inside would be something very precious that they don't need to access that often. I believe this is a scroll within the sort of like wax stamped and ribboned sort of like little situation. This is a deed to the land that the village of Copperberg sits on.
You take that deed, and as the two of you look down at your hands, the quality of the light shifts in front of you. Yevla, you can see that the light is changing. And the Celestine, you can see around you the room is warping and fading. And just like that mayor described, the trees, the roots are creeping creeping in over the windows and around the walls. And Tawny and Mulch, as you look up at the bell crashing down towards you and brace yourself for impact, you realize no impact has come. You are looking up instead at the boughs of trees again, with filtered light raining down through the leaves. And the four of you, and of course Nuri, realize you are together again.
Do I still have the deed?
You do.
Ooh.
I tuck it away. And I tell the party.
This isn't your first rodeo, is it?
I
Go
think
on, Ruben.
Mulch is sort of like huddled down and kind of like not
Same, I was
leaving.
just
Like,
And just like not leaving that position, just kind of like muttering tree facts to himself.
oh.
It goes like, no. Of course, I could not have died now. I need to get back to my tree. All this tree business. There's only one tree. Oh, who wants to hear a tree fact?
I do.
I do.
Yes, please.
Slowly rising up. Bark tends to be hard, and may always be bitten. And that is the tree fact for now. Oh boy.
Thank you for the tree
Thank
fact.
you.
Lovely fact.
I can confirm it is true.
Mm. Mhm.
I've not tasted many barks. How many barks have you tasted?
Oh.
I think
Oh.
about 12.
12 barks. Well, I have to learn from you.
I think Celestine is just so relieved that everyone is together again. The first thing that comes out of her mouth is like, I'll take you bark tasting. It's a festival. It's a festival in my village. Whew.
I would love to go. When I have time from tree watching, of course.
Of course.
Okay. What happened?
We met a man in a building. He was very sad. He told us, and then she just kind of relegates the tale that they heard and leaves open for Yevla to add specific details because she only got like the gist without the sensory experience. But the main thing that stuck with her was still the initial muttering of to pay tribute to the forest is a silly superstition, and obviously that did not ring true to her at all immediately. So it's just explaining that like maybe we have to fix that, or also we might have to pay tribute to the forest in order to leave. But I don't know what to do about those tadpoles.
Can we see the tadpoles again now that we're back in this area?
So you look around to see if those tadpoles are here, and you realize that you are not in the same clearing. You have moved elsewhere. We're drawing another card, the forest, and the forest is rightwise due to your successful investigating. And so you are no longer in that frightening area full of the big green tadpoles, but the light here is dappled by the leaves casting shadows on the ground around you. And Pfeiffer, who is still striding ahead leading you, and seems completely to not be acknowledging your disappearance, if indeed he even noticed it, kind of turns back and says to you, when I was a child, I played a game walking through these trees. We would try to name the creatures created by the shadows of the sun through the leaves.
Who is we?
My mother and I.
It's such a fun game.
What games does Pfeiffer remind you of from your own childhoods?
Ooh.
There's one that we used to play. It's really fitting. Actually, it's called Offering, And it's that when you take a rest, when you are hiking, you find patches of loose moss, and you find a really big boulder, of which there just always was at least one. And the big boulders and big rocks and tree stumps, they have these grooves. You could use a tree stump if you don't have a boulder. Store-bought is fine. And you would find the grooves, and you would collect natural materials like sticks that were shaped very specifically, or leaves that were like intact or big enough or small enough, and you would make like a room or like a dollhouse in the groove of the rock or in the tree stump. And we called them fairy houses and the offerings. It was supposed to be a game that we played to say thank you for hiking safely, and please let us go home.
Wow, very topical game.
Black Forest.
Does Celestine tell this story to Pfeiffer?
Yes.
He smiles. He says, it is good that you thanked the fairies.
Still here, so still working.
He smiles, and as he steps through a patch of sunlight, the shadow that he cast makes the shape of antlers appear to come out of his head, and he laughs and says, "Stag."
Ah.
Can Mulch
Oh, go on, Mulch.
Can Mulch do something with his enormous hands and sort of like create try to sort of like present the mangrove tree? So like it's very intricate, just sort of like doing like this with the roots, and then kind of like bobbing with the head in the middle, just like to be water.
Oh, I love that. Do you have a skill that would fit here, or otherwise we can just use one of your abilities?
I have an interaction called provoke. I don't know what maybe I'm provoking someone for, but
we can use that. Why not? What ability is that linked to?
Provoke. Let me take a look. That is traversal or deduction.
Oh.
I think traversal sounds right here. You're moving through the forest and trying to use the shapes. So let's go with traversal.
So that's a d6 for me, and I'm going to aim correctly. There you go. That is a 5.
Okay. Yes, I think that you make this shape, and Pfeiffer sees it, and he laughs, and he says, "Oh, my friend, you two have such respect for the trees."
Just one.
And as you say just one, he looks at you quizzically for a moment and turns. And for just a moment, Mulch, the edges of Pfeiffer seem blurry almost, as though it's not just the shadows that are changing shape, but Pfeiffer himself as he moves through the light.
I pick him up again and say, "Stop doing that."
Incredible. I think Pfeiffer is so perplexed that he doesn't even say anything.
I'll let him go. Good.
You know, Pfeiffer, we've been walking with you for some time and passing a great variety of things. I want to know, what's your favorite thing in these woods? What brings you the most joy here?
Pfeiffer smiles and says, "I do not see the woods as a collection of things. The Koenigswald is one organism, one creature of itself. Everything here is my favorite thing here." And he kind of hops as he moves languidly over roots which almost seem to be moving, their edges blurred too. And I'd like you all to roll a traversal check to try and make your way through these roots.
4.
3.
4.
A whopping 2.
Okay, well, Tawny, you're lucky because this is a group check, so
Yay!
you had more successes than failures. Perhaps you're still riding on Mulch's arm or shoulder.
Thank you, young man.
I'm 45.
Younger than me.
So you overcome the strangely writhing roots of this part of the forest, and Pfeiffer seems impressed once again with how you all respect the trees, or the singular tree, depending on which person we're talking about. And with that, we will take another quick break. We will rehydrate, we will stretch, and we will keep an eye out for strange shadows, and we will see you again shortly.
Amazing.
Welcome back, everybody. Our chroniclers have continued to explore this strange forest and the strange, dilapidated town. Not quite sure which one they're exploring at any given moment. But now they are back, following Pfeiffer through his forest, and they find themselves at a lake. I have drawn the lake card, and it is inverted. The lake is black as a void, and still and patient and silent. Pfeiffer comes towards it, kneels down on the shore, places his hand on the surface. The water doesn't seem to respond to his touch, it just stays flat. And the woodsman says, "Lemire, be cautious. Many have been lost to its depths." And as he says this, I'd love for each of you to shape a memory that this moment and this warning reminds you of, a time in which you, or perhaps someone you cared about, did not heed a warning and suffered consequences as a result.
I can go first this time. Tawny immediately thinks back to when she was very young, which is a long, long time ago, when God was a boy, some might say. And she remembers it was a bitterly cold, dark winter, and there was a lake just outside of her village, and her sister would go to just see and marvel at the sounds of the ice as it shifted in the darkness of the twilight. And her sister dared her to go onto the ice. She's like, go on, you should do it. You should ice skate. It'd be so cool. And despite Tawny's better judgment and that voice on her shoulder saying, do not, you've been warned before, do not go out on the ice, she wanted her sister's approval. So she went out and she got a few feet out, and then those sounds of the ice turned into splitting cracks that echoed through the silence of the night, and she just plunged down into the dark. And all she remembers is fighting through this pitch black, trying to find her way up and just keeping on hitting the ice. And then she just remembers darkness, and then the next thing she knows, she's back at home. And that was the last time she ever went out on the ice, or on any kind of ice ever since.
The Kosoa people have a saying, something to the tune of, the sweeter it appears, the more sour in the mouth. And despite the fact that Evelyn has never lived in or been to Zomung, that saying that her mother's family has was passed down to her, such that in Lechnista, her home country, there are great forests of linden trees. And when they bloom, the scent is like lightly floral, like honeysuckle or jasmine, a little bit of honey. And with one tree, it's nice, but with a massive forest all in bloom, it smells very, very strong and very enticing. And every spring, children are drawn to the woods. And the incautious or unlucky find themselves lost or overwhelmed, and some return and some don't.
I think Mulch remembers kind of a lesson that he has neglected, and that it becomes a warning not to like repeat that mistake. The act of conservation is itself a man-made intervention in in sort of like an ecology, an ecosystem, and the obsession that Mulch has with this singular tree has led him to allow obsession and not sort of like this transient, more fluid relation to organisms around. Like I think all chroniclers sort of like have that like more fluid relationship to nature, not form attachments like that, and that sort of like ignored lesson has caused him to set up too many traps to warden off predators, curious people, whatever, to this one tree. And up until today, or like to this day, they still haven't been able to find a specific archivist, and they don't know where they have gone to or what happened. All because of Mulch's sort of like willful ignorance and obsession.
A Celestine, when they were still probably only 12 or 13 years old, often worked with their older siblings in their conservationist and in their rehabilitation efforts for a lot of injured animals, a lot of creatures that had been lost or that had wandered too far from their area and needed a little bit of help or got sick. And that meant that she was also constantly around her older siblings' friends, who, of course, by nature of that being teenagers, proper teenagers, means they don't really listen to your kid sister, especially not your slightly dazed seeming, head in the clouds, come what may sister, who they don't know to trust, like the siblings might. And that led to a creature, she probably can't even exactly remember what it was because there's just so many that come and go, that they were in early days rehabilitating. It was very, very standoffish would be nice, very aggressive, very protective, a lot of territorial behavior, because they didn't understand yet what help was. They didn't understand that they were going to go home, and so they needed to acclimate. But nobody listened to Celestine because her older siblings got called into another area, and it was just her and the older friend. And she told the older friend that she was going to spend the rest of the day sitting, much like in their last adventure. She sat with the tree, piece by piece, taking the time that it took, just quietly talking until the creature relaxes or allows her to come any closer to check it out. And so she just sat there and did that. And after about half an hour, pretty much any teenager typically would be like, this is taking too long. This cannot be the best way to do it. I am capable. I am competent. I can take care of this. She told them not to because she knew that it would probably scare the creature. They might hurt their sibling's friend, although admittedly, and she doesn't know how to feel about it, mostly she was worried about traumatizing the creature, not so much the consequences of the actions of traumatizing a creature, and that could eat you. They didn't listen, and they broke a lot of bones because the Celestine couldn't go in by herself to help her save them, and instead spent all of their energy and efforts into trying to calm down the very much freaking out animal. But she remembers that she didn't fully understand that what everyone was just as worried about was the friend of their older siblings who had gotten injured, more than they were even thinking about the mistake that the friend had made in not heeding the warning and not paying attention to what their actions would cause. And they still sometimes think about it, although it's been a long time. So this is the first time the memories come up since they've started traveling.
The four of you gaze into that still black lake, reflecting on the memories of impatient youth, of not knowing what you've done, of being cold and not sure if you'll ever feel warm again, of the smell of honeysuckle or jasmine. And your reverie is cut through by a piercing, all-encompassing scream. Somebody somewhere is screaming. What do you do?
Oh my.
Can I see where the screaming is coming from? Or hear?
It seems to be everywhere all at once. You can't see a source. You're not sure where it's coming from. It's inside your skull. It's reverberating this scream.
Oh boy. There's a headache.
Ugh.
Very good.
The Celestine clamps both of her hands down over Benuri's ears, just in case.
Oh, actually, can I use one of my interactions, which is protect?
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to protect my people here from this, the stress of the screen.
Okay. Yes. What is the ability that's linked to that?
That would be traversal.
Okay. Yes. Roll me a traversal, please.
All right, it's going to be a d6. It's a 5.
Okay. All right. I am going to resolve what that looks like once I know what everyone else here is going to do. I want each of you have a moment to choose what you would like to do in response, whether that's just looking for a source or doing something more specific. I'll give up to you.
I've got a skill called resourceful, which is when something needs fixing, you know how to get it done based on what's at hand, or when someone is suffering from an issue, you can think up some advice to help alleviate it. Given enough time, you can whip together a basic and functional solution to situations just a bit beyond the trivial, be physical or social. So I think with all of this cacophony of scream going on everywhere, Tawny is don't worry, don't panic, and she's gonna rip at the ground where it's mossy and kind of muddy, and sort of squash it together and just start plugging it in people's ears.
Oh.
Oh, that's so sweet. Can you roll me the ability associated?
And that one is exploration. A 4.
A 4. Okay. Lovely.
Don't worry, it feels weird, but it'll be fine.
I'm moss in the ears again.
Bend down. And it's just
Are you plugging your own ears as well, Tawny?
Yes, I think I will. Yeah.
All right, lovely.
Angel?
Yvla or Celestine, what do you want to do?
I want to use my interaction awareness, which is observation, which is I literally just looked it up. So what a Celestine would do is her hands are tied and busy, trying to keep Benuri from any pain until, of course, Benuri very obediently allows her ears to be plugged. She's eaten way worse. The ears, not a big deal. Not a big deal. It's a D4. And instead, a Celestine would look around and try to listen and look and discern with almost every other sense for where the source of the screaming could be or what it could be.
Okay. That's an observation.
Yes, and that is this dice is not filled in, 2.
Okay. All right. And Yvla, you haven't said what you're doing yet, have you?
This is going to sound so funny after protection and earplugs, mossy earplugs, and other things. But before Yvla's ears are plugged, especially because this is her primary sense of perceiving the world, in the moments before, I imagine that she would lean into the screaming. So a scream indicates distress, right? It doesn't, and even if this screaming isn't real, something deep under is in distress. Something like larger and more aching. Yvla would like to try to discern what that is, and I would like to use whispers to do so. I hear the whispers of fate, very loud, screaming whispers, carried on the wind, in the rustle of leaves, or in a faint hum underneath the voices of those around you. If you listen close enough, you can hear fate screaming through the world. So can I hear below the tenor of the screaming, the physical sound, what is going on?
I love that. Yes. What are you rolling for this? Or whispers?
Whispers, deduction.
Okay, roll me deduction,
My
please.
deduction is a D4.
ASMR 3-hour screaming.
2.
Okay. All right. So, Tawny, you are plugging up everyone's ears, and as Yvla, as your ears are plugged, you think that's enough to filter out the scream. You can sense the whispers of what's beneath it. There's somebody in the lake that needs help. There's somebody in the lake that needs help, and I think you don't even have to say this aloud. I think just your body language is enough that a Celestine you realize too. Somebody in the lake needs help. And you remember being a teenager, and you remember not doing enough to act, to help.
The Celestine leaps into the water, and Benuri has firmly attached herself to Yevla via clothing, like a belt or something. We've done this so much. You probably have something on your person that would be specifically for Benuri to latch onto, and she's clamped onto you.
Okay, we're swimming.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm just swimming in the direction of Celestine's swimming.
Yes.
Okay, so the three of you, including Benuri, are leaping into this black water. And Mulch, you see this, and you have a choice here. You can stay on the shore with Tawny to protect Tawny, or you can leap into the water after your other fellows to protect them. Who do you choose to protect?
Ooh.
What a horrible question. Oh.
Oh no. Can I put Tawny on my head as I swim?
The gang goes into the water.
Well, I don't know. That's Tawny's decision if she wants to also go head into the water or not. I don't want to have you just take her off the shore.
I think for the narrative of what I'd said before, I think she's too scared to go in the water.
Yeah.
It's I'll be fine. You go. I'll keep an eye out for things up here. Just keep them safe. I'm gonna see if I can build a raft. And
You
she's
hear
gonna start like MacGyvering some stuff.
Yeah.
You
What do you do, Mulch?
You see Mulch sort of like hurriedly jog towards the edge of the lake and then kind of like walk into it like a hippo before sort of like being submerged enough to start swimming.
Okay. Okay. So Tawny, you are busying yourself on the lake shore. The three of you in the water. I want you to tell me something you notice about the creature in this lake.
Oh no.
One little thing you notice each. Celestine, what do you notice in the lake?
I notice that even though they're in distress, we think, and by all logic should be thrashing as you would, which a Celestine, who is a born and gifted swimmer and is usually in the water at home, would be able to feel and follow. It's like when Pfeiffer put his hand on the lake and nothing happened. A Celestine can't feel any ripples from the direction she's going, just on instinct of where she thinks she should be going.
Okay. Yigla, what do you notice about the water or the creature within it?
The temperature of the water is such that it's the same or very similar to your body temperature, and swimming through it feels less like getting into like a pool and more like becoming part of some great wide entity.
Oh no.
Mulch, what do you notice?
I think the creature might have some sort of buoyancy sac that it uses and fills up with air, and when air is released, it might sound or be interpreted as something it is not.
I think that you feel this stillness and this temperature, this warm, welcoming sense, and you see this buoyancy sac, which is releasing air in a sound that sounds very much like a scream for help. And Tawny, you turn and look after your fellows, ready to try and chase out after them with the raft, just in time to see the three of them plunge under the surface of the water. And that is where we will end for tonight.
Oh my
God.
Yes!
It's going well and everything's fine.
Yes.
Everything
Thank
is
you
okay.
all so much for playing this first session of 2 sessions of Mappa Mundi. Thank you again to our friends at Three Sails Studios for sponsoring this game, and to our good friend Kat the Law Mistress for writing the incredible adventure that we are embarking upon tonight. Please, I would love for all of you lovely, lovely, wonderful role players and people to tell us all about yourselves and where our audience can find you. I'm just going to go around again, and you've rearranged yourselves on your screen since earlier. So let's start with Emily.
Oh, hello. My name is Emily Greymore. You can find me at Emily Greymore on most things and places. Just let that car go by.
That's all right.
You can find me at Emily Greymore in most places. Blue Sky is generally where I am the most active at the moment. If you want to see other things I'm doing, Unbalanced Encounters is the podcast that I co-founded, and I am doing other heartfelt stories and crazy things and weird voices and characters, so you can find me there. And the TTRPG that I created is now kickstarting. It may still be kickstarting when you hear this and listen to this. If not, it's called The Cunning Folk, and you'll be able to find that online as well.
Amazing. Thank you. We love The Cunning Folk. In fact, Euphoria had an AP of it, so you can watch that and see how great it is, and then you can support that game. Angel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angel Amore. You can find me also primarily active on Blue Sky at cutestpatoot.h.io on Blue Sky. And that's coincidentally also where you could totally get, if you felt so inclined, any one of my free or paid games, including the most recent game that I released, where you get to play to see how much extra you're going to pay a game designer whose game you pick on itch. And I'm not salty about people still debating whether or not you should get PDFs for, nice, normal, livable amounts of money. But apart from that,
Mhm.
I'm a multi hyphenate performer. You can keep up with all of my shows, including my newest found footage, John Wick inspired AP, solo AP called Love is a Verb, which you can find everywhere you listen to your podcasts. And the direct link, like all the links to my games and other work, is on cutestpatoot.carrd.co.
Thank you. I am a big fan of the choose how much you pay for PDF game. I have read it and I agree.
Thank
Support
you.
indie game designers, babes. That's what we're all about. Ruben.
Hi, I'm Ruben. I throw dice really well.
Hmm.
That's what I do. You can find me on Urban Friend Den on Blue Sky. That's mostly it. Honestly, that's my introduction. That's my post introduction. That's fine.
Love it. Find Ruben, tell them how good they are at throwing dice. And Luyou.
Hi, I'm Luyou. I have nothing to plug, so instead I'm going to plug Darcy, who is the wonderful facilitator for our game. You can find them on Spinning the Yarn. There's going to be a season 2 soon. I hope you watch and enjoy.
Yes.
Darcy is great. We love producer
Mhm.
Darcy hiding behind the scenes. Yay for Darcy. And yay for Ida, who is also going to be doing some of the post production on the show that you are currently watching. Ida has done the lovely visuals, Darcy has done the production and audio. We love them both very dearly. I have been and continue to be Michelle Kelly. Hello. I'm an actor, singer, voice actor, various things, game designer these days. I do a lot of stuff. I'm also staff here at Euphoria. We love it here at Euphoria. You can find me on socials, mostly Blue Sky as well, at Michellecopter. You can also find me at time of airing very shortly at UK Games Expo. I'm so
Mm.
excited to be there. All of the Euphoria staff are coming. Hopefully, many of our lovely friends from the community will be there too. So keep an eye out for us. If you're going to be there, you can join the Euphoria Discord and join the convention meetup channel so you can come and meet other lovely people from our extended community. And our friends at Three Sales Studios will be at UKGE too. So if you've been loving this game, which of course you have because you're still here watching this outro, you might be able to pick up your own copy of the book from them there. So watch out for Three Sales Studios and Euphoria at UKGE. Can't wait to meet some of you lovely people in person. But for tonight, sleep tight, have pleasant and confusing dreams, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye!
Bye.